$40 short, and I could feel a tap under the table on my knee. And I put my hand down, she put $40 in my hand.
Oh my God.
And she said, I said, I'm so embarrassed. She said, oh, it happens to my dad all the time. It never does.
Oh, you had to fall in love right in that moment.
By the way, I did. And we're walking her back. I never kissed her, never went in her room, never went to bed with her. And I'm like a horse's tail. There's, you know how there are those chains that separate parking lots from the walkways?
Yeah.
I go to jump over, I trip, fall flat in my ass. And she said, oh, it's okay, it's all right. And I said, I got up and it was a stupid thing to say. I said, I think I'm going to marry you. And she looked at me, my word is Biden. She said, I think maybe. I quit the football team and started to commute every single weekend up to Syracuse, New York, which I did for the next so many years.
You played football for Syracuse too after high school?
No. This isn't at Delaware.
Oh, okay, Delaware. Yeah.
Wow. I had been a freshman. My grades were terrible. My mother made me quit. My grades came back up. I went back out my junior year in spring practice, and I was designated, they thought I might be the safety, and I'd make the team. But I quit. I didn't go back because I just fell ass over tin cups in love with her.
Wow. Unbelievable. Like that.
That's a true story.
It's a crazy story, And I mean, the fact that like a lot of guys would have said, you know what, I think you're going to be my wife. And like, she might have head for the hills. You know what I mean? Like said, this guy's crazy. He's like, he's in love already. And he thinks you're going
to. No man deserves one great love, let alone two. I mean, I really did. I mean, it was true. It's like when I met Jill, when I lost my family, I got put in that 10 most eligible bachelors list.
Because you were a United States Senator, you were a catch,
and so, and a lot of lovely women, but women would send very salacious pictures, and I'd just give them to the Secret Service. I thought somebody would think I was, and I just gave up, and I got a call from my brother. He said, I know a girl here at Delaware. Jill's 9 years younger than I am. She said, and you'll love her. She doesn't like politics.
Well, that's my point about your family. And this is what I love about your family. Your brother Frank is your youngest brother. He's the one who introduces you to your second wife, Jill. When you lost your wife, now listen, what did you date for 2?
It was very interesting to me that what I told her, my response to her was, I don't know when, I don't know how, but I do see myself in one of the two houses of Congress in the American government. Um, so moving forward, I'm in social services, and I still have a very good understanding about politics. But something that I do outside of my normal job scope is I like to read. And I am that person that likes to read certain boring things. So I'm interesting to find out how many people have really delved into the Geneva Convention, right? And its writing and everything that is encompassed in that before they even offer an opinion of our current political climate. Mhm. Oh, for sure, for sure, for sure. Mhm. Good.
2 years
2 years
after you
after you
met
met
in the Bahamas, and then you got married, right?
Right,
It was
right.
a
It was
great
a great
romance, and you
romance, and you
had
had
3
3
children. You
children.
had a
You had a
daughter
daughter
and 2
and 2
sons, and
sons,
you had
and
a
you had a
young
young
family.
family.
You had
You had
just been
just been
elected to
elected
the
to the
United
United
States
States
Senate,
Senate,
and the
and
worst
the
thing
worst
ever
thing ever
happens in your
life.
life.
It's
It's a
a
horrible
horrible
tragedy.
tragedy.
Your
Your
wife
wife
was
was
in
in
a
a
car
car
accident,
accident,
some truck hit her, and you
and you
lost your
lost your
13-month-old
13-month-old
daughter.
daughter.
And I get
And
the
I get the
chills when I
chills when
say it
I
because
say
I
it because
can't
I can't
imagine this
imagine
kind of
this kind of
loss.
loss.
You lose
You
your
lose your
13-month-old
13-month-old
daughter, you
daughter,
lose
you
your
lose your
wife, and
wife, and your 2 boys
end
end
up
up
in
in
the
the
hospital.
hospital. Yes, yes.
I can't
I
even
can't even
imagine that
imagine
kind of
that kind of
loss.
loss.
Here's the love
Here's
of
the
your
love of your
life.
life.
You have this beautiful romance, love at first sight, I would say. I don't know how you recover from something like that. I just don't know.
Family. Look, I spend a lot of time because anyway, when you've been through something tough and everybody had in their life, and people know it and you survive it, people come to you and ask basically how. They want to reassure. And so one of the things I had my mother and my father. My best friend in the world is my sister, my younger sister, my brother Jimmy, Frankie, the whole family, and everybody just. For example, what I would do, I didn't want to stay in the U.S. Senate, and I let everybody know I was going to have. We had a Democratic governor, and he'd appoint a successor, and another Democrat, and Senator Mansfield, Iron Mike from Montana, a man more integrity in his little finger than most people have in their whole body. And Teddy Kennedy and a guy named Fritz Hollings from South Carolina and Tom Eagleton and a few others, they all came to me and said, look, just stay 6 months. Help us organize. Like a damn fool, I thought that I said, okay, but I'm not going to stay. And I started commuting back and forth in a train to Delaware, 300 miles round trip a day. And
The reason you were commuting is you wanted to be near your 2 boys because they'd lost their mother, they lost their sister. You needed to be involved. So you would get on Amtrak Joe, right?
yeah,
And you would commute to DC and do your job.
right, and go home. But the reason real reason, there was no way. That's why I'm so empathetic to people who need childcare. I could not afford childcare even if I did move to Delaware from Delaware. I was listed for 36 years as the poorest man in the United States Congress.
Right.
I never thought I was poor. I was getting a Senate salary, which was more than I'd ever made.
Yeah.
But the end result was that my family was home. So, for example, when the boys were really little, I'd go from my house, which is not far from where my parents lived. I'd be driven by my buddy Tommy Lewis, who worked for me. He'd drive me in, we'd drop at my mom, like the kids at my mom's, and then I'd go on to the train station. So I had a whole network to take care of my family.
But that's my
kids.
point. What a family. Valerie, your sister, moves in basically to help you. You know, think about it. This wasn't her burden, but she moved in.
She and her husband gave up their place when I came home from, the boys were hospitalized. When I came home from the hospital, they had moved in.
I mean, what a gift. And your brother Jimmy moves into the garage.
Exactly right. He made it a little apartment. Look, we have an expression in our family for real. If you have to ask, it's too late. If you have to ask, it's too late.
But you know most families aren't like this. They are not. Valerie put her whole life on hold in order to help you raise your boys. And Jimmy moves into a garage and puts his life on hold because they love you. That is the most loving. If I wrote a movie, you would say, that's a little over the top.
Well, it's who we are. I mean, it's how we were raised.
The amount of gratitude. And here's another thing I like about you. So you become Amtrak Joe. By the way, you were one of the youngest senators. You couldn't even get sworn in. Your wife never got to see you sworn in because you were.
That's correct.
Technically.
All right. Real quick, I just want to pause and say this. In the comments. To my experience.
You're echoing.
Oh, I'm echoing.
Yeah, I hear that too. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
No, you're right. I know. Can I weigh in? Okay, Jackie. That's your experience, but most families will not do that. They will not give up their job and go live in their mom's house for their brother. They won't do that. They'll say, "I'm here for you. Call me if you need me," but they're not going to uproot their entire life like Joe Biden's family did. And if your family does, then that's awesome, and I'm really glad for you, and I hope that your family and everyone around your family continues to do that. But the average American person cannot afford to do that. Financially, emotionally, mentally, or any of the above. But Joe Biden's family did. They dropped everything, and I don't see that happening in America on this level these days.
I can say this. I was raised in a village. I always had, somebody to pick up the pieces when it came to my parents. So if my mom couldn't come get me at school, my stepfather couldn't come get me, my aunt could come get me, or one of my uncles can come get me, that kind of thing. Or it could be anything, come to see me at a program. And I say all that to say that's how I live my life now. I know that I am blessed to have it because I know a lot of people don't have what I have, even in my everyday. My parents get my kids while I'm at work. They'll get them after school and after daycare, and they'll take care of them for me. People don't have that, and I know that I'm blessed to have it, and I appreciate it. That's why I always try to give my parents,
just show them that love and respect. I give them their flowers while they're alive. And because I know I'm blessed.
Amen. All right, quick question. Am I echoing again? Or no? Am I good on the echo?
No,
No.
Okay,
No
so
echo.
no echo?
No, you
All right. Well, interesting thing is that right now I can hear my ear, and my YouTube is straight. So I've got my YouTube streaming at the same time as the TikTok. So yay there. Only problem is I can hear myself, and it is one of the most annoying things ever. As I do not like my voice, so I'm going to go ahead and change it just a little bit, in order to make sure that it is something
We all don't like our voice.
that I can enjoy. Yes, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Let's go ahead and move on and keep going. And now I can hear every little thing that I do in the room. So I am sorry that you guys have heard this before. I couldn't hear it before. Now I can hear every tap on my everything. All right, let's go ahead and keep going. Just lightening things up because it's about to get very sad. All right, let's keep going.
28 years old, and you have to be
29, you have to be 30.
you have to be 30. You were 29. So she never got to see you get sworn in. She saw you win the seat. You were an unlikely winner. It was mostly Republican district.
Well, Freudian slip. Nixon only won by 60% in my state
Right.
that year, and I won by 3,100 votes.
Well, God knows how you did that. But that's what I mean about your family. Your old man was out there knocking on doors for you. They thought he was running for Senate, not you, because you were a kid. It's pretty amazing family. And I'm
proud of it.
I submit for your approval that when you have a loving family like that, you got a lot to give, because you get so much from them.
I agree.
Most people who aren't generous are because they haven't been given anything.
Well, the other thing is, it's an expectation in the family. Like I said before, probably the greatest gift I ever got was being a stutterer. Because you know what it's like to be humiliated. You know what it's like. I don't want to exaggerate it. It's not like I had a cleft palate or I had a club foot but it's something people make fun of. And you realize how humiliating it is. So it taught me to understand what other people are going through.
How'd you get rid of the stutter? Was it that you...
I practiced. I'd stand in front of the mirror and just try to make sure that I blah, 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 blah. And I just worked. But it wasn't... My mother used to say, Joey, come here. Look at me. You're smart. You're handsome. You're a good boy. Just don't let this define you. Don't let it define you. And it just, I don't want to exaggerate how debilitating it was, but it was easy to make fun of, because when I tried to speak in public, when I tried to reading and talking on the telephone are two hard things for stutterers. By the way, I've got a group now, I don't know how many it's up to, I think 38 kids who are serious stutterers since I've been president, who I engage with, who are still getting it. There's a young man, I'm so proud of him. He actually did my nominating speech for the 2020 election.
How did you get involved with these kids? I mean,
I'd meet them, for example, West, and I was with his mom. I was doing a political event as vice president, and I could see him, and you can tell a stutter when they talk, just the way they begin to move their lips. And I said to him, you got a minute? I said, I got to work on my speech. Can you come with me? And the mother looked at me and said, here's something before I go out and speak, because I mark up my speeches. Did you ever see the movie The King's Speech?
Yes.
Well, the guy who wrote The King's Speech contacted me and sent me a copy of The King's Speech.
Great
He actually used to put slash marks. So stuttering is about getting a cadence, at least for me.
It's musical.
Exactly. By the way, you notice a lot of singers are stutterers.
That's right.
Not a lot, but I mean, great singers are stutterers.
Mel Tillis was like the guy. I mean, he had a horrible.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
But if you learn to just make a little bit of it sounds choppy, but I went to the movie with my wife. I went to the movie, And so I practiced a lot. I would used to stand in front of the mirror at night, and my siblings, we were three of us in one bedroom, but I'd stand in front of the mirror, and I know a lot of poetry, a lot of particular Irish poetry, because I'd practice it just but I don't want to exaggerate it, but it was real, and
It's real trauma because, especially look at the life you chose.
But I'm pausing it because it's funny that in the comments they're talking about exaggeration at the same time that he then comes up and says, I don't want to exaggerate. I thought it was funny. All right, let's keep going. I'm fine tuning my YouTube, and it seems that everything is working right now. As long as you guys don't hear an echo, I am good to go. Excellent. So again, if I'm not here on Thursday for Trump versus Biden 2024, I will be on the tube of you. All right, let's keep going.
You have to get up and make speeches. You have to debate people. You have, you become a lawyer and you have to go argue in court on behalf of people. I mean, what could be more important than having a confident, fluent speech?
But by that time, I was over most of the stuttering. But like, for example, Trump makes fun of me.
Right.
He was the kind of guy in the neighborhood who wish he could have gotten in the neighborhood, meet head to head. But at any rate,
And by the way, speaking of that, didn't your mother, the first fist fight you ever had, some bully in your neighborhood, and your mother says to you, listen, go back to this bully. I guess the guy really had it with you. And she said, go back and punch him in the face.
Well, to be precise, in Scranton, we lived in a place called Green Ridge, and down the bottom of the hill by the Lackawanna River is called the Plot.
Yeah.
And there was a family, I'll not mention the name, they were pretty tough. And I was 14 years old, I guess, and they'd come up on what they call Dimmick Avenue. And anyway, they were up in the backyard. I walked out the yard with two of my friends, and this particular guy came up to me and smacked me. And I hole in my face, and I came back across the fence into the kitchen. My grandfather was there, and he says, "What's?" I said, "He hit me." And I walked in, and the pantry looked out on that avenue, that alley. And my mother said, "Joey, go back out there." I said, "Mom, he'll beat me up." He said, "Joey, I have a quarter." That was big. You go back out, but here's what you do, Joey. Wait till he'll come back to you. As soon as he walks up to you, don't do a single thing except you got to hit him right in the nose, Joe,
Right.
in the nose. I was scared to death. He said, "So go out there, Joey." So I went out scared to death, got up across the little bank there. He walked up to me, and with all the courage I had, I hit him right, and his nose started bleeding. He went, "Oh!" Took off.
Really?
Oh, I'm serious.
It's a very cinematic life you've had. I mean, that's a scene.
No, I'm serious. I know it sounds bizarre.
No, it
But
doesn't.
everybody at home still kids me about it. At home, meaning Scranton. Anyway, and I walked back.
Anyways, let me go ahead and say this real quick. That is your current president of the United States admitting to committing self-defense assault. Assault in the interest of self-defense. Indeed. It's a huge contrast. Jackie in the comments, you're welcome to come up. Oh, you don't have enough followers. Hopefully you're not I don't think they have enough followers. I am willing to try to invite you up. She only has 84. Well, it's not just that, because Donald Trump does tell personal stories, but you know that they're, for the most part, BS, because it's always the same thing. And he comes up to me and he says, sir, you made me cry. I was crying so many tears, sir, and I love you, and what you did was just so great. Yeah, it's always the same thing. The 1%. Um, in his defense, and I hate coming to his defense, but I am a truthful person at all times. Him trying to put through the bump stock pew pew ban was necessary, even though it just got overturned. That was, I live in Las Vegas. I lost friends in that pew pewing, and I appreciate that the first thing that he said when it came to weapons and school pew pewings and stuff like that was, let's take the guns. So him allowing for that ban to go through, even though it is against Republicans and NRA wishes, that was something good. Even a broken watch is correct twice a day. So they're wrong the other 60 times 24 minutes minus 2, which in my head I'm going to go ahead and say that's 100 and, oh, that's a lot. That's 1280, 1340, so 1338 minutes that he's wrong. Wait, no, twice a day. Yep, 1338 minutes. Okay, anyways, let's keep going, guys. The First Step Act. No, I'm just a nerd. I'm just a straight up nerd. So let's keep going.
He said, "Here's a quarter, and I'll get you another quarter tomorrow."
When you became a football player, was that kid still going to school with you? Because I'm pretty
No,
sure.
he never went to school with me.
Oh,
he was just
a
down. He
local
was
kid.
a local kid.
I wonder if that guy's still around. I mean, like he sees you become president of the United States. I wonder if it's like, do you ever do that? Do you ever like go on Facebook and look up people that you grew up with and go, hey, look what became of me? Like,
No, I
no?
don't do that. But I keep in contact with those people. I mean, the people, my friends. Like when I'm back home to Scranton last week, Larry Orr, a guy that we
Give
grew
me a
up
moment,
with,
Jackie.
known for 55 years. I invited Larry to come with me. He's still around. And I'm getting so damn old, a lot of them are passed away these days.
I know, it's depressing.
And
But what about like a woman who rejected you in high school? Now you could just like say, hey, I'm the president of the United States. That to me is the biggest rush in the
well,
world.
no, I don't think of it that way, Howard.
You should come into my world. That's all I think about. It's all about that.
Well, anyway.
Yeah. But
The
anyway.
only reason I was not allowed to go out with some girls was because I was Catholic.
Yeah, that was, I guess, your first wife. The family didn't want you anything to do with you because you were Catholic, right?
Well, they like my first wife was up in Skinny Atlas. They were in Auburn, New York. The family was really from near Syracuse, and the father was an incredible guy, but his older sister was very involved in the Presbyterian Church.
Wow.
And
can you believe that's a thing? Like, can you believe back then that was a big thing? Like, I don't even know the difference between Catholic and Presbyterian.
And I remember I went up like the 5th trip, and Neely looked at me and said, my dad told me I have to stop dating you because you're a Catholic. And I said, oh, man. She looked at me, she said, but I told him, don't make me choose, Daddy. Don't make me choose.
What a great woman.
And but her dad actually showed up, which was really I forever indebted to him. Showed up at at the Catholic Church in Skinny Atlas, and walked her up the aisle with me.
Wow, they got over the religious difference thing.
I don't think it was more of family pressure he had. I think.
So here's the key question, and maybe it's a difficult one to really get into, but when you lose the love of your life and you lose your 13-month-old daughter, which again, it gives me the chills even to say it to you, and I hate bringing it up, but at the same point, I think it's useful that you described you were suicidal at that point. You thought about it.
Well, what I said was, I can understand you don't have to be nuts to commit suicide. I said, I don't drink. That's not a virtue.
Never drank?
I never drank. And I used to sit there and think to myself, I take out a bottle of scotch that was, we always had liquor in the house, in my house as well. And I was going to just drink it and get drunk. And I can never bring myself to do it. And I actually thought about, you, you don't have to be crazy to commit suicide. If you've been to the top of the mountain, you think it's never going to be there again. And just a brief moment, I thought maybe I just go to the Delaware Memorial Bridge and jump. But
Wow.
but I had 2 kids. I mean, it wasn't, don't get me wrong, I wasn't like, "I gotta commit suicide." It was like, you've been to the top of the mountain, and it's never gonna happen again. You're never gonna be okay. But I had and I had and my boys, when I started to,
You guys still
in
with
their
me?
2nd or 3rd grade, I guess.
You guys still with me? It said I lost connection for a moment. All right. Yes. Yeah. With him talking about that, they didn't last time. But who knows? I'm pretty sure my TikTok guardian angel or guardian devil is actually watching right now. So, uh, yeah. But they didn't on Sunday or Saturday when I aired it. Um, so I guess it's his turn up on shift to watch and throttle me down. Nah, but I still love this platform. Don't banana me. Anyways, oh, I abhor that place. Uh, but anyways, I let's keep going. Again, let me go ahead and state again. TikTok. This is for educational and entertainment and informative purposes only. The views of the people on the screen and on the panel are not shared by me. However, they are meant to educate, inform, and at times entertain. With that said, please take that under consideration. YouTube or Tube of You, on the other hand, you do you. There's nobody on there right now, anyways. Um, but yeah, let's go.
Maybe a little older, 4th and anyway, in the early grades. And Bo looked at Hunt and said, "You tell him." I said, "You tell him." Finally said, "Well, guys, what are you going to tell me?" And Bo said, "Dad, Hunt and I think we should marry Jill."
They liked her.
And they liked her. And then we went up to, my sister had a Jesuit friend who was, because I didn't know how to, everybody was wonderful in my state when I lost my family, as they'll.
And 1 second. Thank you, Danny, for the gifts. Thank you, everyone, for the gifts, tapping the screen and sharing all the new followers and such. I do appreciate you. The schedule for this week is right here, all leading up till Thursday, Trump versus Biden, 2024 live. With that said, let's keep going. Captain, we're saying TikTok shop stuff because they're so for that. Oh my God, I love the TikTok shop. I love it so much. TikTok shop, you are so wonderful. I get things so cheap and the coupons on it. Oh my God, thank you. Give me all the coupons. So, so, the two of you isn't on the screen. Let me go ahead and get it on the screen. Everything I do is under I am the captain with 2 E's because everyone is equal. I am the captain. There we go. I'll go ahead and transfer this. Put it there. See, I can hear myself now, so it's really annoying. And switch and click and drag, and that is good enough placement. Fade it in. There we am. All right, I am the captain. I should darken that and make it bigger, but it is what it is. Hopefully you guys can see it okay. Anyways, let's go ahead and keep playing. Ladies and gentlemen, get to the TikTok shop. It's lovely. You know, maybe I should start selling things on there. Yeah. Say that again. Oh, I am certain that he does. Affiliation and actual sales on there is fantastic. I just I used to be a salesman, and I don't want to do that anymore. I could sell ice to an Eskimo. I could sell anything to everyone, and it is one of the most um, torturous times of my life, being that I would always twist the truth, and or I've never outright lied. That chances are likely that I have. I just don't remember it. So no, I don't want to be a salesman. I don't want to. I don't want to do that. That's not honest. And oh, actually, I will say this. Uh, I have bought two ice machines on TikTok Shop, and they are both awesome. The first one broke. The first one is the Sonic ice, but it's not because it was poorly made. It's because I have four dogs and the house got really dusty and the fan got clogged. Not their fault. I can blow it out and it works just fine. But the actual ice machines on TikTok Shop, pretty good. Pretty good. Um, anyways, let's stop talking about that. Get back to President Biden.
Expression guys, I had a lot of yentas who were, and but they were really generous. But I didn't know how to have a wedding and who to invite. So our families, her family and mine, we all went to New York and we got married at the UN chapel by this Jesuit priest who was a street priest up there, a friend of my sister's. And literally, spontaneously in the chapel, when they said, "Who takes this woman?" and both boys got up from their seats and walked up. No, I'm serious.
And they said, we do.
And they said, they stood with me.
How great is that?
It's wonderful.
It really is
It's
a wonderful
wonderful.
story. Did you consider psychotherapy or speaking to a therapist at the time when you lose your family and you're
No,
in crisis?
I didn't.
Why do you were you
I don't know.
because I'm remember when Eagleton admitted that he had therapy or he had shock therapy or something, and then Muskie cried. I think back on politics. It's like almost like if you're a politician, you're not allowed to say, I'm in therapy.
Well,
which
by
is-
the way, I strongly encourage people to go to therapy. I strongly encourage people to deal with mental illness. It's just like you're breaking a bone in your body.
right.
But I guess because I had such an internal support I mean, I never considered it, but I wish I had. I remember when the boys were hospitalized, and Hunter had a fractured skull from the accident, and Bo broke literally every bone in his body. He was in a body cast, both arms, both legs, for a long time.
Is there anything worse than that? That not only losing your daughter, but when you see your kids.
No,
I
no.
remember my kids, if anything happened to them, like any
Yeah.
break a bone or something,
Yeah.
you go out of your mind.
Well, what happened was that I when I came home, I came to the hospital one day after work, and there was a child psychologist from the University of Massachusetts that Teddy Kennedy had sent down,
Wow.
and I should have paid more attention. And it was wonderful. We got engaged, but I think I would have gone out of my way more. But I guess it's because I don't know. My family was my extended family was so, they enveloped us so much. I don't know.
That's right. When when your gas tank is filled, when you have like your sister and your brother moving in and all this support system and,
My mother, my father,
yeah,
my
the loving
everybody.
family. I mean, it's so, I I guess in a way you can get away without getting a therapist because
But I'd encourage people to get there. I hope they don't read from this that you shouldn't be.
I like
get a
that he
therapist.
encourages people.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. mental illnesses should not be viewed as anything different than a physical illness. I
Agree.
mean, and it should be just treated. And they have real serious people and experts who can help.
Who do you think was the greatest president of all time? I have an answer for this, but I want to hear yours.
Well, I think Jefferson was one of my favorite presidents of all time. But also there were people who came along in periods. I think the fact that Roosevelt, came when he did, and the way he did, and the way he stood up. I hope you come to my office one day. I sat in that Oval Office for 8 years with Barack every morning at 9 o'clock. And used to be, and before that, I was chairman of foreign relations. So I was in and out of that office a lot
Yeah.
in my job. And there was one portrait, a small portrait of George Washington hanging over the mantel. And so I didn't realize at the time when we got elected that the outgoing president on inauguration has to be out by, I think, 10 o'clock. And the new guy or woman can't come in until, I think, 4. There's a space there. So you can decide what desk you want, what drug, et cetera. So my brother Jimmy has better taste than I do. So I asked Jimmy, would you do my office? And he had John Meacham, the president's historian, he asked help from. And I come walking in, and I look, and there's this big portrait of Franklin Roosevelt. And I admired Roosevelt, but I looked, I said, Jimmy, why Roosevelt? And Meacham spoke up and said, because no president has inherited a world of more disarray than him, than you. And so I said, that's wonderful. And then I looked over, there's 4 more portraits, the small one of Washington, and then one of Abraham Lincoln. And I said, why Lincoln? He said, because the nation's never been as divided since then. I said, I'm getting the hell out of here.
You're not kidding.
But
You
but
talk.
so there's a lot of people a lot of presidents that I admire the hell out of, and I think that I think Barack was a hell of a president,
I did too.
and
Was it hard for you? You had spent.
1 second. I actually forgot. Is Jackie still in here? Jackie, if you're still in here, she was wanting me to acknowledge the First Step Act that Donald Trump signed that he really had nothing to do with when it came to the bipartisan legislation that both Republicans and Democrats put through. But yeah, we can give him credit for that if you want me to. But being honest, it would benefit him more now that he's a 34 times convicted felon. Just wanted to say that. Just wanted to say that. All right, moving on.
In so many years in the Senate, you were so prepared to be president yourself. Was it hard to be vice president? I would think in some ways you'd say to yourself, gee, I liked it better in the Senate. At least I had more to do.
I'll tell you a true story. When I was Barack became the de facto candidate in, I guess it was in the middle of August.
Yeah.
And I'm riding home in the train as usual, and I get a phone call. And it's Barack. He said, I want to do a background check on you. I said, Barack, I don't want to be vice president. I can help you much more as a senior senator. I was fairly successful there. And he said, well, there's only 2 of you. Or I think that's what he said. And I said, Barack, he said, well, there's only you. And I said, Barack, I don't want to be vice president. I can help you better.
Sure.
And so I go home. He said, do me a favor. When you get home tonight, he knew my family. Talk to your family. Get back to me in maximum 48 hours. I said, okay, Barack. So I call. I said, let's get a family meeting in the back porch. We get a family meeting. And to my, not to my surprise, Jill says, you ought to do it. And I said, what? She said, otherwise you'll be asked to be Secretary of State and you'll be away all the time.
Yeah.
And then my son, Bo, gave a reason why I should do it, and Hunter and everybody. And my mom was living with us at the time because we just lost my dad. And I looked at my mom, I said, honey, you haven't said anything. She said, Joey, remember, true story. She said, remember when they were desegregating Linfield, the neighborhood? There was, 70 homes built at one suburbia. And I told you, and there was a black family moving in, and there was people who were down there protesting. I told you not to go down there, and you went down. Remember that? And you got arrested, be standing on the porch with a black family.
Right.
And they brought you back, the police. And I said, yeah, Mom, I remember that. And she said, then she looks at me. She said, "And Joey, remember you had that job as a lifeguard in that country club setting, but you wanted to be the only white guy working in the bucket on the east side in a black neighborhood?" I said, "Yeah, Mom, I remember that." She said, "Well, let me get this straight. When I called you and asked you about Barack when he defeated you back in the spring, you said he was bright, he was honest, he was really a capable guy." I said, "Yeah, Mom, what's your point?" She said, "Joey, the first black man in history has a chance to be president, and you told him no."
Right.
I said, "Son of a bitch."
Yeah, that is crazy too. By the way, I forgot to bring that up. I was going to bring that up too about not only were you a star football player, but you were a lifeguard. I mean, you really and you were the only white guy who was
Oh,
lifeguarding in this black community, right? I
yeah,
mean, you were the one guy.
I was.
Theodore, Mooney,
Yeah,
I'll get back to you
but I
on that
learned so much.
after he's finished
I
talking
learned so much. That's one of the reasons I wanted to go down. A lot of
on this
athletes
subject.
had those jobs. That's how you got the jobs.
I see.
There were 3 big swimming pools in the city, and this was in the projects. And so what I realized, I mean, for example, I
Okay.
remember a guy named Jamie Rolls, who was a great.
All right, I'm going to pause this so I can interrupt, even though I feel it's disrespectful. All right, Theodore, in the comments, Theodore said, "Wow, host, what are your thoughts on Biden really being the best choice?" I've already spoken on this. It's not so much that he's the best choice, he's the choice that we have. He said in 2020 that he was running to beat Donald Trump and restore the soul of the country. Donald Trump is still here. Donald Trump is back running for the country even after January 6th, the debacle of COVID, and all of the other atrocities. So Joe Biden is keeping his promise and is running again. It is what it is. It's not my choice. I vote in primaries. If there was somebody that actually primaried Joe Biden that was better than Joe Biden, I would have voted for them as well. But there's not enough people that voted in the primaries, and there's not enough people that are going to be for Joe. Not enough people that would vote against Joe Biden in the primaries. So, best choice, he is the only choice we have right now. Because if you're going to vote for Robert Kennedy, that is a vote for the Republicans, being that the Republicans are supporting Robert Kennedy, both financial and by lifting him up, by having posted him on Fox News and Newsmax before Donald Trump told him to stop doing that shit. Also, Cornel West, same thing. Both Republicans and the other media, the right-wing media, are pushing him up so that way they can steal votes away from Biden. He may not be the best choice, but he is the only choice that we have. Because I personally, as being a Marine, an American, and a former Republican, completely believe in the rule of law and our Constitution, especially the old tradition that we once had for the entire history of this country of having a peaceful transition of power until January 6th. That wasn't where I started disliking Donald Trump. When I started disliking Donald Trump was 5 minutes after he came down the escalator and announced that Mexicans that weren't sending their best, that they were apists and thieves, and some of them, I believe, are nice people. But those people are people that I currently live with, being that it is the mother of my children, and I don't believe, I'm not going to let anyone talk poorly about people that I love. You do not generalize in my world, and you especially do not do that when it comes to race, gender, or nationality. Also religion, but I don't really bring that in. Next, Mooney said that I'm being biased. I just aired for 3 hours the 2016 Republican GOP nomination. For 3 hours, we all here listened to the GOP, including Donald Trump, Chris Christie, Jeb Bush, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Ben Carson, John Kasich, and Mike Huckabee, and a few others, all talk about their Republican talking points. Right now, I am giving fair time, and actually a lot less time, to the current president of the United States, being that I believe in being equal on both sides, not being left-leaning, not being right-leaning, but being dead center as I possibly can be, which just so happens in the mind of most Republicans and most conservatives puts me on the left because I believe in being center. All right. Okay. Mooney is saying something that is incongruent. Mooning, okay, I see that you are inviting yourself up. Let me go ahead and accept that, and we can have a direct conversation. This is not debate time. I want to be very clear about that. We are not having a debate. We are, by all means, can have a small discussion, but the limelight of this is to listen to our current president tell his story. As once again, we just spent 3 hours listening to the Republicans talk. So let's go ahead and also give you your piece. Go ahead and tell us your opinion and perspective of our current political climate, and then we're going to move on. It was Saturday, yes. Thank you. Thank you for that. Well, thank you for that. Yes, I understand, um, but here's the thing. I give a lot of time to Republicans and Donald Trump because they are out there speaking all the time. As right now, they are the contenders, the ones that have to climb the mountain in order to retake the White House. I give a lot of time to them because they speak a lot. The problem is that most of what they say is rhetoric, and most of what uh, they are saying is nothing but divisive. With that said, I am doing my best to give equal time to both sides. Um, I can, by all means, go to any other interview on either side and listen to them talk politics. I can guarantee you this: none of Donald Trump's interviews will be fully personal and thought out as well as this. Um, but then, if you want me to do more political interviews, um, I can put on the ones with Joe Biden where he is being um, held to the fire, if you'd like me to, and I am more than happy to do that. But we do that all the time. We can see him going through that literally every day, every time he talks, with people yelling at him, Mr. Biden this, Mr. Biden that, and then him being the older man walking around, turning around, and realizing that he needs to shut up because anything he says is going to be held badly against him if he doesn't think it right. Um, maybe I am biased right now, but that's because I know what it's like to lose a family member, family member, um, and I really enjoy hearing the personal story from the president of the United States. If Donald Trump ever had an interview like this, I would air it too, but he doesn't. I'll look it up while we're doing this right now. I'll check it out and look it up, but he doesn't. I could be wrong. I probably am wrong, but I'm not. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and get back to the video, but thank you for your. I'm going to have to call this a compliment because you gave me a compliment saying that I'm in the middle. That is the biggest compliment anybody can give to me. So let's keep going, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody else good? Everybody's good? All right, let's roll.
Ball player. And he went to Slasianum High School. And he came up to me one day. He said, "How many jerry cans? You know, those big."
One thing. I've got my first commenter and viewer on YouTube right now. He's actually commenting, and I can see him on my screen, and it's kind of great. He's actually listening. He's talking to me about. Let's see here. He said, will Biden hold any events open to the public? He already has. He's done town halls, and he already has. So that's kind of cool. But I answered, I do believe so. Will anyone show? Can't hear the caller. Oh, you can't hear the caller now? Oh, I will fix that and get back to you. Anyway, what's that? Anyways, yeah, that's just from my YouTube. So, yay! Pat on my back. Except for obviously the audio is jacked up, so that sucks. But I'm going to fix that out. Fix that right now. Anyways, back to Biden.
Yeah, big Jerry job.
And I said, what do I need a jerry can for? He said, I need one. I said, what do you, I'm going to see my mother, my grandmother. So what do I need? He said, Joe, you know I can't stop at any gas stations between here and North Carolina.
He used it as a bathroom. Yeah.
No, he used it.
To go to urinating.
No, beyond that, he brought the extra gas in it.
I thought he was. I mean, he can't go to a gas station.
Yeah, you couldn't back then. This was 1965, I guess.
Oh, I thought he wasn't allowed. I thought he wasn't even allowed to use the bathroom. That's where my mind went. But you're right.
He couldn't
was
talking about
he couldn't get gas.
Needing gas.
Can you imagine? What a world! What a world! I mean,
but you know, I learned a lot. And I made a lot of friends.
Did you ever save anyone's life when you were a lifeguard? Was anyone ever drowning?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, well, half a dozen times. Usually younger kids, you know, but...
you do the thing with the whistle and then jump in the bathing suit? And
you got it.
No kidding.
Yeah, there's a big pool. There were 7 lifeguard stands.
Wow. See, that would define my... I would brag about that everywhere I went.
Well, by the way, I did it up in Lake Ontario, too, when I was in law school. But look... One of the things that...
you saved a dude's life when you were in law school? You were still doing the lifeguard thing?
Yeah, lifeguards, I mean, you know, people just need help sometimes. I mean, it's not like it's so heroic.
Yeah, it's a big deal. We should play that up in the movie of your life.
Well, by the way, it got played up because when I ran the first time, they said it was true. I was running for, it's called a county council.
County council, yeah.
After I got out of law school, we didn't have any money to, you know, buy a home or anything. So had this real estate agent. We were looking for rentals. Her husband and she had managed this pool called the Country Swimming Club, which was a private swimming club in a nice part of town that a number of judges put together because when they'd be up in the summer working in Wilmington, they had a place to go. And it was a very modest thing, and a nice pool, and had a little bathhouse and the rest, and it had a little gatehouse on it. And so she worked out that I could live in that gatehouse for free if I'd managed the pool. I was practicing law.
Wow.
But I just, as long as I hired her, we kept it going. And so when they ran against me, they said, why the hell would you vote for Biden? All he's ever been in his whole life is a lifeguard.
They threw it in your face.
Well, it was a good. I don't blame him.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
It was a good.
It is what a crazy career you've had. I mean,
Well, it was.
you know,
It's not like there's any straight line to it. It's not like I started off to, do that. It's like anyway.
yeah, that's pretty amazing. So now, let me get back to some romance, if you don't mind.
Sure. Okay.
So I don't know how long it takes you before you start dating, but when you lost your wife, you were devastated.
About 5 years.
5 years.
Well, I got out. I had gone out other times, but I basically gave up going out because it got complicated, and that I guess Jill and I went out 2.5, 3 years after I'd lost.
What did you feel like you were betraying your first wife?
No, it wasn't that. I just didn't feel. It became it was like a celebrity issue. I go out and Biden's going out, and when I did go out, we'd make sure the press didn't know I was going out.
Right.
Like for example, the first time Jill and I went out, we went to Philadelphia to see a movie, and I didn't like the movie, The Man and a Woman. It was
I remember that movie, Man and a Woman.
Yeah, I went up to Philly because no one in Philly, you couldn't go to locally, and so anyway, it was. But I just got really, really lucky, and Jill is incredible.
It's like sort of what happened with your first wife. Like when you were like, I think I'm going to marry this. Your brother found a picture of her, or he showed you a picture.
The DuPont company did a lot of business in Washington, and the Wilmington airport, they convinced an airline to come and fly once a day back and forth commercially. So I went down, and they had this big life-size banner in there of advertising that and the woman in the banner standing there was Jill.
Oh.
And turns out she had a friend in Delaware who asked her if he could take a picture of her and use her. And I remember going home and saying, I saw a beautiful woman. I mean, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
And it turns out the blind date was with that woman.
How strange is that?
It's fate.
Fate. And you, again, pretty much knew right away. It was like,
I did. I really did.
But here's something I heard about your relationship with your wife that blew me away. So you meet her, you go out with her, you find yourself, I want her to be my girlfriend, I want her to be exclusive with me, and you tell her this, and she says, well, I have a date with another guy.
That's right.
It is the best. She goes, I have a date with another guy, and I would feel dishonest not going out with him. And that's got to be the worst feeling in the world when you're falling in love with someone and they're going out on a date with another guy.
Well, it was the second time I was within 3 days of taking her out the first time.
She said, no, I can't skip this date that I have with this guy.
Well, she did.
She did? Good for you. But it was pretty much love at first sight again, right? I mean,
Well, for me, it really was. I mean, I just like we have the same family values. I got to meet her family. Her dad was a wonderful guy. She has 4. I tell every man he should marry into a family with 5 or more sisters. And she's the oldest of 5 because one of them will always love you, not the same one. One
Right.
will always stick up for you.
That's good.
But I got to meet them. I got to meet her grandparents. They were originally from South Jersey, Hamilton, New Jersey. Her dad ended up being the president of a savings and loan in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. But they were just wonderful people.
Why did you have to propose so many times? What was that all about?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know why. It turns out I asked Jill 5 times to marry me. And so I was down trying to get to see Nelson Mandela with the Black Caucus when.
Hold on. Did he say he asked her 5 times? 5 times he asked her 5 times to marry him? Oh, I need to rewind just a bit. I didn't catch that the first time. Okay. 1 second. I'm sorry. I'm having issues. I know this is gonna mess up, but I'm gonna try. And there that is. All right, I'll fix that little part later. Let's go ahead and play.
It was pretty much love at first sight again, right? I mean,
Well, for me, it really was. I mean, I just like we have the same family values. I got to meet her family. Her dad was a wonderful guy. She has 4. I tell every man he should marry into a family with 5 or more sisters, and she's the oldest of 5 because one of them will always love you, not the same one. One
Right.
will always stick up for you.
That's good.
But I got to meet them. I got to meet her grandparents. They were originally from South Jersey, Hamilton, New Jersey. Her dad ended up being the president of a savings and loan in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. But they were just wonderful people.
Why did you have to propose so many times? What was that all about?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know why. It turns out I asked Jill 5 times to marry me. And so I was down trying to get to see Nelson Mandela with the Black Caucus when in South Africa, and I came home, and I got off the plane commercially in Philadelphia, drove straight to her apartment.
Creators of this. And then the other day, I'm watching the news, and now they're talking about the Supreme Court that they might undo it.
It's the proudest thing I've ever done. It took me years to get it done.
But who would be against that?
Well, I got to be careful what I say about the court. But
why do you have to be careful?
Well, I think it's important to.
It's a joke. First of all, does it drive you crazy? This keeps me up at night, and I'm not exaggerating. It occurs to me every day that when Obama had his time to appoint a Supreme Court justice, he was going to appoint Garland. These maniacs in the Senate said, no way, not interested. And now we've got a Supreme Court that's nuts.
Well, it's a really extremely conservative court, maybe the most conservative court in modern history. And, one of the things that when they struck down Roe v. Wade, saying that it was not federal constitutionally guaranteed, it was a state issue. States could make those judgments. I think they don't, and one of the justices, Clarence Thomas, said, it's not that women don't have a choice. They can, in fact, change it if they, in effect, at a state level, but we'll see if they have any power. Well, they ain't seen nothing yet. You're going to see what will happen. If I'm elected president again in the second term, we're going to be able to overrule them, not overrule. We're going to be able to make Roe v. Wade the law of the land again, because based on every state in the union being able to judge and get a majority vote in the Congress.
Do you think we can do? You think that?
I think
can be
we
done?
can do that, because I think there's going to be a real lesson learned on the mega Republican side of the aisle, because we're going to see a whole hell of a lot of state referenda, and they're going to want to restore it, and that's going to be able to be done.
Can I tell you a fantasy I had?
Sure.
I don't know if you're going to debate your opponent.
I
I love
am
this
somewhere.
part.
I don't know when.
Yeah.
I'm happy to debate him.
Would,
I love this
this
part.
is how I would handle it. Tell me if I'm nuts. Well, I am nuts, but tell me if this is accurate. I would stand there on stage with Trump and I would repeat over and over again, excuse me, please find me 11,000 votes so that I can win the election. I would just repeat that over and over again. And then I'd say to the audience, what are we debating? A man picked up the phone and wanted to say, fake the election, give me 11,000 votes. I don't know how any American who loves this country, that's the end of the debate. You don't get to run if you're going to fix an election.
Well, look,
End of the debate.
I think I said on January 6th, when they were storming the Capitol.
And a police officer died.
Yep. And he would say nothing. He was sitting in that office off that dining area off the Oval Office for 3 hours and said nothing. I was supposed to make a speech on the economy that day. Instead, I made a speech I was in Delaware on that issue because I was elected president, but I wasn't sworn in yet. The idea that we were actually not, it was derelict, it was almost criminal. He did nothing. He just sat there and watched what was happening. Not a single, and now he wants to he calls them patriots and victims, and says he's going to pardon them all if he's reelected.
How do some of the guys that you served in the Senate with, I'm talking about Republicans,
They don't.
how are they going along with this?
Well, I don't think, look, this is not your father's Republican Party.
No, it isn't.
This is, I had a lot of Republicans,
Interview
including the old segregationists that I served with,
Andrea, yeah.
who at least you could talk to, at least on matters relating to, they were totally wrong on civil rights. But the fact is that they understood there's a need for a consensus to run this country. And I gave my word I'd never say their names, and I never will. In the last 3 years, I've had 7 sitting Republican senators. Well, 2 are gone now. 7 sitting Republican senators call me to tell me, Joe, I agree with you, but I just can't do it. He'll get me.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you get these calls in secret where guys go, listen, I can't say it publicly, but I'm for you and I'm going to vote for you. I'm a Republican, but screw it. I can't vote for this guy because he's talking about ending the democracy.
Well, they're not saying they're going to vote for me. They're saying, I agree with you.
And do you say to them, you coward, why don't you say something publicly? Where's Jeb Bush? Where's George Bush? Where are these guys? Why don't they say, hey, I'm interested in saving the democracy for our grandchildren?
Well, I don't think the election's over yet on that score.
What do you think's going to happen? I can't imagine you're going to lose, but...
Well, look, he's promised if he doesn't win, there's going to be a bloodbath.
Can you
things
imagine?
like that. Here's what bothers me most. We have a fundamentally different value set. For example, when he was in Paris, he wouldn't go to that gravesite and said they're losers, these men and women who were killed in battle defending America. Losers, and I'm glad I wasn't there because I think I would have, my son's in one of those graves, in one of the graves back here, not there. And the idea that they're losers and suckers.
And McCain's a loser. He said McCain's a loser.
Well, McCain's a loser.
Can you imagine?
When John...
All right, 1 second, just pausing this for mild clarification. We all know about Trump when he said, well, not all of us, but I'm going to still do it just in case. There's people that hadn't heard it. Donald Trump did say that if I'm not elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. He was intending to refer to the stocks or money economically when it came to China and EVs, electric vehicle cars. But the way that he said it, it's valid. People can think that he was literally blowing a dog whistle to all of his followers, that it's going to be a real bloodbath. But economically, bloodbath is a term. Next. It is not on tape that of Donald Trump saying that veterans are suckers and losers, or what's in it for them. It is, however, on the record with his chief of staff, John, his name is past me. The general stated that that is what Donald Trump said to him, and I believe the general all day long personally. But I just wanted to clarify that. Just practicing my fact checking. Here we go.
John McCain got out of prison and was released. He came work for me. He was on the Senate liaison officer. We traveled over 100,000 miles together. And he was like an assistant because he worked for the...
It's a fabulous man. I got to meet him before he died.
No, he was a straight-up guy, man.
Yeah.
Tough as hell.
Good man.
And, but I find I can't fathom a president of the United States of America saying that the folks who died defending this country were suckers and losers.
But I can't forget him. I can't fathom a guy walks into the voting booth, especially a military member or somebody, and would vote for someone who says military guys who die are losers and suckers. In other words, I'm not disappointed in him. I'm disappointed in my fellow Americans. And maybe you can't say that because, you know, the thing I do like about you is I love this about you. You're able to embrace people who didn't vote for you. And to me, that's fundamentally good. And I want that in a president.
Well, I think so. Look, I think there's an awful lot of military personnel who are not enamored with Trump. I don't think it's
Thank you,
and a fair number of them voted for me in 2020.
Good.
I mean, I don't know the names, but my point is, you know, I think part of, look, you're an expert on the topic I raise. I wonder what you think. How much do you think the modern media has altered the landscape?
The internet, these apps, it has now generated a hatred and viciousness where people who used to be in the minority have found each other, and it's a growing movement. And I am so afraid for our democracy right now that people would embrace anyone who says they're going to, get into office.
Well, look, one of the things is that there are no editors anymore.
No, everyone says everything.
And, it's, and I think that, I think there's a lot of really, I'm doing the gridiron dinner on Saturday.
Right.
And one of the things, the serious thing I'm going to say at the gridiron dinner is that, paraphrasing Jefferson, he said the choice between what we have and a free press, I'd pick a free press.
Damn right.
Well, guess what? The free press is not speaking up as much as it used to.
Nope.
And I don't know whether, I'm not sure. I haven't figured it out yet. But I think it's coming around. And I'm not blaming the press. I'm just saying that I think some of them are worried about attacking him, worried about taking him on.
Yeah, everybody's scared. I don't know why they're so scared. I don't get it.
I use several sources for that.
By the way, did you ever think you'd live in an America where Republicans are for Putin? I mean, no. I bang my head against the wall. Thank God you got the whole, the Ukraine aid. I mean, who the hell?
I spent a lot of time in Ukraine, and I'll tell you what, had we not gotten that done, I think you might see the beginning. Kissinger, before he died, 10 days before he died, got a message saying that, said, not since Napoleon has Europe not looked over their shoulder at Russia with dread until now.
Yep.
You've strengthened NATO, you've expanded it, you've moved it.
I can't thank you enough for that.
Well, it's not just me, but the point is I've worked really hard to spend hours and hours and hours doing this. And the idea that had we not gotten this done, I think you would have seen a beginning of disintegration of NATO.
I know. Did you ever think you'd see that in your lifetime?
No.
No.
Except that he says, Trump, thinks we should not have NATO. He thinks we should not, doesn't support NATO. And he thinks they're not inviting Putin to invade Ukraine because they not putting, or any other NATO partner because they're not putting enough money up.
Can you believe there are two people who believe that? I mean, you think about all the men who died in World War II fighting Nazis and keeping this democracy alive. And now it's crazy. Speaking about service, and again, because I was asking you about loss, the loss of your son was devastating. But you know what strikes me? Here you were, a U.S. senator, and you know the song by Creedence Clearwater, "I'm Not a Fortunate Son." Your son, here's a son of a senator, joins the military, and was in Iraq.
Well, look, Bo, my son Bo should be sitting here instead of me. He's more capable than I am. And he was the Attorney General of the state of Delaware. And one day I came home. I'd come home all the time. And he came over to the house. He was living in Delaware. And he said, Dad, what are you doing on Friday? I said, what do you need? He said, I need you to pin my bars on me. I said, pin your bars on you? What the hell are you talking about? He said, I joined the National Guard. And facetiously said, somebody's got to do this anyway. So what happened after that was...
Were you in shock that he joined the National Guard?
No, I wasn't in shock. It didn't surprise me. It just, I wasn't encouraging him to do it. He was a sitting attorney general. He had to give up the attorney general's job because you either have to work for the president or for the state.
So he was attorney general at that point.
He was attorney general. Now he could join the National Guard and be accountable to the governor. But when the Guard unit got sent overseas, he got an exception to be able to give up the response. He wasn't allowed to do any of the attorney general job. Turned it back over to a Republican who had been there before.
Wow.
And went for a year. The problem was he lived next to one of those burn pits. He came back with a Bronze Star. He came back with a Conspicuous Service Medal, but he also came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. Like, the brain injuries out of Iraq are extreme, like they were the people in 9/11, all those firefighters, because of the toxic fumes.
You're convinced that the reason he got brain cancer is...
I know it. It's been determined, yeah. And a lot of them did. A lot of them. It's because of the toxic. Just like we're convinced what happened to all those firefighters.
Yep.
And before that, he had, as an assistant U.S. attorney in Philadelphia, he had volunteered to go to Kosovo to help them set up a criminal justice system. They awarded him, he received a medal from the Kosovo, both
What a
parties.
kid. What a kid. How did you know that he had, did he call you and say, Dad, I've gotten a horrible diagnosis?
Yeah, I learned when he learned. He let us know. But he had to come home, and it just kept getting worse, and that's when he realized they did the analysis. And then he was in Walter Reed for a long time. And but I wrote a book called Promise Me, Dad. He knew his time was up, and one night we're having a dinner at our home before he was incapacitated, hospitalized. And he said, Dad, can we talk? And I said, sure. And he said, look at me, Dad. Promise me, Dad. Promise me, Dad, that you'll not leave public life. I know when I go, you'll want to quit. You'll want to quit. And he looked at me and said, Dad, give me your word as a Biden. Give me your word.
Wow.
Look at me. I'm serious. I give my word on the health of my family. And he said, promise me, Dad. You won't step back. And I made the promise. And that's what I ended up writing the book about. Not to sell the book, but so my great-grandchildren and great-great knew who he was.
Wow.
He was. Before he passed away, last thing he said before he passed away, we were in the hospital bed, Hunt and I with him, lying in bed with him. He looked at me and said, I'm not scared, Dad, it's okay. I'm not scared, it's okay. He was gone within... Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've had to deal with a lot of loss.
Well, there's a lot of heroes out there that dealt with what I've dealt with and more without the family I had. Without support. I'm not joking.
No, I know you're not.
There are thousands of heroes get up every day, put one foot in front of the other. And they got nobody. They got nobody to help them with that child that survived or with that, whatever it was. And they're incredible.
That hurts.
Now I understand why you've said to your family, I'm the president of the United States, but if any of your grandchildren or your children have to get in touch with you, you said, I'll leave any meeting and I will answer the phone.
that's true. And the other thing, I have a rule, and I mean this sincerely. When I ran for re-election after the accident, I realized that I had a million bosses, being from just was third or smallest, but only a million people.
Right.
But if I had to choose when they were coming up, if I had to choose between going to a parent-teachers meeting and a vote that wouldn't matter, I'd went to the parent-teacher. I say so. And so during one of the Supreme Court hearings, a really bright guy, I don't want to embarrass him, mention his name, was having family trouble. And I learned about it 4 days before the hearing began. And I told him to go home. He said, no. I said, I'm going to fire you if you don't go. Go home and take care of your family.
Yeah.
And so I have a rule everybody knows in my office. If you have any problem relating to family, you don't have to tell me what it is. Just look me in the eye and say, I can't be. I got to take care of things.
I want to thank you for doing this today. I want to thank you
awesome.
for your compassion. The reason I'm so excited to talk to you was because I wanted to understand the tragedy in your life and how you dealt with it. And you're the kind of leader I love, because we're lucky to have you in the Oval Office and serving as the father of the country. Because if you're a good father to your family, which you are, I know you'd be a good father to the country. And I want to thank you for providing a calming influence, an organized administration post-COVID, getting that vaccine out. I remember what the world was like at that point, getting NATO, getting us to feel comfortable, standing up to Putin. I could read your greatest hits, but I'm being given the high sign. But the incredible large growth in the jobs, unemployment rate down. I don't know what people are looking for in a president, or maybe it's that people don't feel like they're getting enough or something. I don't know what it is, but I'll give you your greatest hits. The lowest uninsured rate in history. 4 out of 5 Americans are covered for less than $10 a month. Knocking off a few ISIS leaders, cutting the emissions in half. I mean, you've always been an environmentalist. Even the marijuana reform laws, enough with sitting there and fighting that battle. Respect for Marriage Act. What the hell is with people with this gay stuff? Who cares if someone's gay? I mean, how is it affecting anybody? People in love, it's good, right? Love is good.
My dad we saw 2 men kissing one another in Rodney Square when I was going in to get a license. And I looked at him and he said, Joey, it's simple. They love each other.
That's it. That's how I look at it. Listen, this has been a thrill. You know, I put a suit on for you. And here's the depressing thing. This is from my daughter's wedding a year ago, last summer. And now I don't fit into it. My belly is hanging over my belt.
Well, I tell you what.
What do I do?
You know who deserves credit? The American people are relentless. The American people are stepping up. Who they vote for? They just never give up. We're the most unique country in the world. We really are.
We are, but I don't want to lose it.
We're not going to lose it, God willing.
Thank you for doing this.
Well, thanks for having me.
Mr. President. Look at me sitting with the president.
Look at me sitting with Howard Stern.
Wow. I mean, you can tell people this is the most important event in your lifetime.
I'll tell them that right away.
President Joe Biden. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I forgot about it ending with him talking about losing Bo to cancer. I forgot about that part, and that hit me. I have seen enough people on their deathbeds. I'm good on that. But anyways, it's my pleasure, by the way, those people that are saying thank you for showing this. I'm going to be showing it again. I'm going to be showing it and showing it and showing it and showing it and showing it, because I think this is the most genuine I've seen a president speak in a very long time. I've been looking for Donald Trump interviews that got personal like this, and haven't found any. I'm actually looking it up right now. Here, I'll put it on the screen. got to close that. I'm still working on my YouTube audio as well, but let's change that right there. All of Trump's interviews that I've looked up and seen, they're not personal. It's yeah, indeed. There, yeah, very much so. Yes. Yeah, I'm skipping out on that one. I caught the little bits of Howard Stern talking about it. I'm good. Yeah, there is the old Larry King interview, but that's not personal, and that was also from 1987. I don't think that's relevant because I'm referring to hearing a president talk, and that was actually at that time Donald Trump specifically saying he didn't want to be president, which I wish he kept that mindset. 1994, but I am going through all of this. I'll take a look and see what they can see what they can find on C-SPAN. But I've been following this guy for 9 years. I've been all up his ass listening to every single thing that he does. And I can tell you, I've never heard him go as deep and personal for an hour and 10 minutes to talk about family and personal things like this. I mean, you can see right here, he even had the Dr. Phil interview and didn't get personal there. That was bullshit. I didn't air that. I may at some point, but I doubt it. Oh yeah, Frontline definitely has a lot of videos, but again, it would be a compilation of little things from Donald Trump. No one sit-down interview where he actually decided to be vulnerable and human. He would think that that would be weak. Anyways, it's late enough, and I have been on for 7 hours today. Do the math. Oh, a little over 6 hours. So I'm going to go ahead and call it because I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we will be. Let me go back.
Sitting and listening to Bruce Springsteen. I am live. I know typically on a Friday I am not live, but I decided to break into my own channel.
Whoops. Tomorrow we will be doing Joe Biden's 2020 Democratic primary, as well as the possibly the 2016 second GOP debate. If I could find something to make sure there's even time, I will. Earlier than today, I started at little after noon today. Actually, plan on noon again, I guess. Oh wait, tomorrow. What is tomorrow? Tomorrow's Tuesday. I apologize. I'm not ready to give set times for these yet. It could honestly be as early as 8 or 9 a.m., as late as 1 p.m. But I can't give a set time yet because I'm broke and I need to do other things to make sure that I can pay my rent. So I apologize. But I'll be here. One way or another, I'll be here. And I don't mind doing the long days. I did the entire Trump trial for 6 weeks. I can do this. Um, Danny, thank you for joining me. You have been awesome, and I appreciate you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you, everyone, that did subscribe. I think I got a few more. I got like 14 followers. What were you saying? Uh, Excellent. I'd love to have you. For those that are on YouTube or the tube of you, I'm going to stop the stream now. Thank you for joining me. I still have some work to do with you guys, which I have to figure out how I'm going to bring in my guests' audio over to YouTube properly without it echoing. Jessica said, "Ooh, early morning would be nice." Okay. Um, It's just that I start my mornings at between 2 and 3 a.m. With working, and I do that for 4 to 5 hours or 8 hours. And so we shall see, Jessica, but I will do my best. For everyone else that are still here, again, thank you. I sincerely appreciate you for joining me. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for everything. With that said, I want you guys to be good and be safe in everything it is that you do, because God loves you, your friends and family love you, and I love you too. And I want to bid you all a good day, good night, God bless, goodbye. Ooh, long days. Get some sleep. Oh.